All right, so what we're talking about, like I said, for the next long time here is going to be graphing. And eventually we're going to be graphing like whole lines and things like that. But the most basic parts of graphing are ordered pairs, okay? What does pair mean? Two. An ordered pair has two components, okay? An ordered pair is going to be inside parentheses, which is a must, okay? If you don't put parentheses on it, it could mean anything. So you have to have parentheses. And then there's going to be two numbers inside the parentheses, an X number and then a Y number, and they will be separated by a comma, okay? So, again, pair means two. That's because there are two parts. The first number is your X, and the second number is your Y. Now, and a lot of this you probably are familiar with. The X number, or the first number, corresponds with the X-axis, okay? Now, do y'all know what the word axis means? It pretty much means line, okay? A line. So the X-axis is the horizontal axis, which runs this direction. Your Y-axis is your vertical one. And do y'all know what vertical means? Up and down. So your Y-axis runs like this. So when you are graphing ordered pairs, your first number corresponds with this axis, the horizontal one, and then your second number corresponds with this axis. All right, so I've got some points graphed on this little graph right here. Now, on this graph, you only see positive numbers. So you only have a small section of the graph. We're going to look at some graphs that are a little different in a second, but for right now, all these numbers are positive. This line right here, would this be my X-axis or my Y-axis? That would be my X-axis. A lot of times you'll see a little X out beside it. If there's not one, I like to put it just to remind myself. And then this graph, or excuse me, this axis would be my Y-axis. So, in this particular case, I've got a bunch of points on here. So what I want to do is I want to pick a few points, and we are going to give its ordered pair. Okay, for example, let's start with W right here. I want to know what is the ordered pair for W. So the first thing that I would do is I would look on my X-axis and I would see, where does W line up? Can y'all tell that it lines up with the number 3? So that means my first number is a 3. And then I look at my Y-axis over here, and I see, where does my W line up? Lines up with 7. So that means the ordered pair for W is 3, 7. That is a location, okay? An ordered pair, think of it as a location. On a map, it tells you where something is. Okay, and that's pretty easy. That's all there is to it. Let's look at T. Okay, if I want to know the ordered pair for T, first of all, here's T. Always do your X-axis first. That would be this one. Where does it line up?
8.
So my first number is 8. And then look at your Y-axis. It lines up with 2. So T is located at 8, 2. All right, so a tricky one sometimes is one's points that are found on top of, literally on top of the X or the Y-axis. So let's look at R. Okay, so look at point R. First question, we always do the X-axis first. Where is it lined up on the X-axis? 5, right? So that is my first number, 5. But then if you look at your Y-axis, it lines up with 0, right? On my Y-axis, I'm all the way down here at 0. That's where it is sitting. So that means my second number is 0, 5, 0. Pretty easy, right? Like I said, all of these numbers on this particular graph are positive. I want to look at the graph down below it. Okay, so here, in this area, all my numbers are positive, so that means in this area, all my numbers are positive. But if you'll look down here, we got some negatives, right? So in this area, along this direction we're positive, along this direction we're negative. Okay, so this is where things get maybe a little bit complicated, but not terribly bad. first thing, this is my, which axis? X-axis. If it's not on there, it's a good idea to put an X. This axis is my Y-axis. Okay, so I'm going to pick a few points. We're not going to do all of these. Well, we might. We're going to do some of them together. Let's start with point K. All right, here it is. First thing we do is we look at our x-axis and we see where does it line up. 8. 8 is my first number. And then we look at my y-axis over here. Lines up with 10. Now, if you give me 10, 8, that is wrong. It is very important that you remember x is first, y is second. Okay, let's look at another one. How about G? All right, so here's G. On my x-axis, where does it line up? Also 8. Where does it line up on my y-axis? -2. So that one is at 8, -2. With me, everybody? Let's do one more together, and then I'm going to have you do a couple of them. How about J? Where does it line up on my x-axis? -5 is first. Where does it line up on my y-axis? Also -5. All right, so I'm going to list a couple points over here. I'm not going to do all of them. But I want you to find the coordinates for C, E, B, F, and H. Okay, so right out beside those 5, I want you to write their ordered pair. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do those. Make sure you get your X first and then your Y. Okay, so for you guys in class, everybody looks pretty good. Does this feel really, really easy? It's supposed to. But obviously, this is literally the most basic part of graphing. If we can't do this, we're not going to be able to do the rest of it. So we have to start off here. But everybody's looking good. So C, on my x-axis, lines up at 3, and then 9. So that one is at 3, 9. E is at 7, -1. B is at 5, -7. F, -10, -3. And I should probably be going over these slower for the virtual kids. H on the x-axis lines up at -4. On the y-axis lines up at 6. All right, so that right there is just determining your points. Okay, flip to the back side. I got just an empty graph for us. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to graph our own points. Okay, it is no different. It is no different. It just takes a little bit of practice to get used to it. So I'm going to make up some points. Let's start with point A, and I'm going to make this one be -5, 6. So always remember my first number is my X and my second number is my Y. Personally, I always start out right here in the middle. Now, if my first number is -5, that means I go, notice this has an X here, I go on my x-axis to -5. Well, that would be this direction. And then my second number is a 6, so I'm going to go up until this point and this point line up. Right there, that would be point A. Yes, pretty easy. Okay, how about point B? I'm going to make this one be at 2, -3. So the first thing I'm going to do, I start out in the middle. On my x-axis, I go to 2, and then now because it's a -3, I'll be going down here. +2, -3, that would be my point, and I'm going to put a little b beside it. That's point B. All right, let me give you just a couple of points here to do by yourself. Make sure you put a little letter beside them so I know which one is which. Let's do V is going to be at 3, 1. Oh, hang on a second. Let's do a C together. I want to do a hard one. Let's do 3, 0. Okay, so those zeros sometimes give people troubles. But always start in the middle. If my first number is 3, that means on my x-axis I go to 3. If my second number is 0, what do you think I should do? Should I go up or down? Stay right here, okay? So boom, that is C at 3, 0. Let me make a D real quick. How about negative, I'm struggling. How about 0, negative 6? Okay, if my first number is 0, that means my X number is 0. Do I need to go to the right or to the left? If my first number is 0, on my X-axis, where is 0? Stay right in the middle. If my second number is negative 6, then what do I need to do? Go down to negative 6. Boom. That is where D is. Okay, so those zeros sometimes give you trouble. They just let you know, don't move. Stay where you're at. All right, now let me give you some points. Well, because it's a negative 6, we want to go down to negative 6. If we went up, that would be positive 6. All right, so V, let's do 3, 1 is I think what I said. W, let's do 5, negative 4. X, negative 3, negative 5. Y, negative 6, 0. And Z, negative 5, 2. All right, so there's 5 points right there. I'll give you a couple minutes to do those. So let me go over them. I'm going to go over these slow for the video. So if I'm starting right here at 3, 1, my first number is 3, so you always start here. You go on your x-axis to 3, and then you go up to positive 1. So this one is kind of right above that one. This is V, that's C. 5, negative 4. So first thing I go to 5, and then I go down to negative 4. That would be W. Negative 3, negative 5 would be X. Negative 6, if my second number is 0, that means stay put. And then negative 5, positive 2 would be right there. Z. Okay, the main thing is, my main instruction for you is do not rush this. Yes, I know that this is easy, but if you switch these two in your mind mentally, you're automatically going to mess up your point. Okay? We got to make sure we get our points correctly, because then when we progress to the next thing, it all depends on you plotting your points in the right spot. Okay? We can do this though, right? This is something you have done before, I'm sure. Okay.